Hey, everybody. Let's see if some people start showing up here. I've got some questions from Instagram, which I will start reading out here in a moment. And some backup stuff too. So check it out. So let me know if you have any further questions. I've got a few here to go from. All right. Let a few more people show up. I think there'll be at least a couple. All right. Top chat, live chat. All right, so let's get started here. So I've got a few questions from Instagram, which I will go over, and yeah, hopefully these are helpful. All right, so we got question number one. Can you talk about working out of country, permits, taxes to consider, etc.? Yeah, this can happen a lot now. So if you're out of country, maybe I've heard of people going down to Colombia and working down there for the winter, that kind of thing. Um, Tax status and tax residency comes into play here. Not a tax expert, but from what the knowledge that I do have is that when you are down in another country, you will likely maintain Canadian residency for tax purposes unless you're severing all ties to Canada. So actually, removing yourself from tax residency in Canada is not an easy task. You got to like close bank accounts and do all of that. So something to just watch for and consider there. And then it really depends on the country that you're in. So you'll want to do some research on, well, one, if you're allowed to work while you're down there, which is some countries you're not always allowed to do that. And then if you are allowed to do that, do you become a tax resident there as well? So what actually ends up happening if you're kind of tax resident in two places? If you're filing a tax return in Colombia, for example, and paying Colombian income tax for working down there, you still have to file a Canadian tax return. You still have to claim all your worldwide income that you made while you were there, but then you do get a foreign tax credit for the taxes you paid, so long as there's a tax treaty between Canada and that foreign country. That's roughly how it works. The details of that, you definitely want to either research the laws in the particular country that you're going to, or hire an accountant down there that knows the local laws, and make sure you're not doing things that are illegal in another country. So that's a big one. All right. Question number two. What hair products do you use? So I use, well, I guess I shampoo my hair and stuff, but I don't use its particular brand for that. I use Layrite Brown pomade. I think I've been using it for years now. I love it. It's a great brand, Layrite. They make excellent products. Um, Check it out if you've got curly hair like mine and can't keep it under control. So thanks for that question. Are the real estate courses taken in 2021 tax deductible if you become licensed in 2022? Actually, I'm gonna copy and paste these questions that I've got in here in the chat, just so this is here for posterity. That was question one. Uh, Question number two. Thank you for the hair one. And question number three: are real estate courses taken in 2021 tax deductible? Um, yes, there's caveats there. So if you're a commission-based employee, so if you're an employee of another place, you can deduct these. So that's the thing there. If they are eligible, like tuition tuition tax credits, then you can deduct them there on your personal tax return. If it's a corporate return and this is part of your employment, that they're requiring you to take these courses and they don't reimburse you for them, then absolutely. And then if you're a business and this is a prerequisite to actually making your income, like I think this is for real estate, then they're deductible when you incur them. You've kind of opened the business. When you've opened it, you may have a loss in your first year because you've been doing training, but with the intent of making a profit in the future. So it's just deductible when you have it. That is my understanding. I'd like to delve into that a little bit deeper. I do some research on that question in particular, but that's all. That's my understanding at the moment. All right. How did you establish your kick-ass branding? All right. So, if you've been following Avalon for a while, we just released our new website and new branding in the last, well, this month, and really excited about it. Really, I feel like refined our image, and I think business owners can take a lot from our sort of experience with this because it has been an evolution. And I think when we first started out with our branding, really wanted to make it accessible and things, but it wasn't built out a ton. We sort of started writing on our website. I wrote all the sales copy on there, wrote it pretty much for myself, like honestly put up the first website and I'm like, who's going to go to an accounting website? And so just kind of wrote it the way I wanted to, added my own humor to it, and that was a lot of fun. But this time we went through a whole branding process with a team. So it's partner creative, partner, I think they're in Victoria. Partner is what they're called, and they're a creative agency. And they were excellent about really bringing out the messaging and trying to simplify like who we are, and sort of I think one of the big things I learned about doing the branding for Avalon this time around was really like you have people and the clothes that they wear and how they style their hair and what kind of car they drive. Those are all little aspects of their brand, I guess. But the brand is their overall sort of image and personality, and that's what I kind of came to with Avalon, is what is our overall brand and personality that the company sort of encompasses. And that helped me sort of understand what the branding process was, and that things that were like on brand or off brand, it wasn't just about the clothes that Avalon was wearing, although that came after when we started doing the sort of visual identity. But the branding itself was like, okay, who are we trying to serve, and what sort of issues are they having, and how can we really connect with the people that are having these issues? And that really helped me understand our messaging and things. And then the imagery in that came after, but was supposed to be a part of all this. And it was a really great process to go through, not just because it's all pretty at the end, and it did turn out really well. I think we were fantastic outcome. But it also kind of helped me understand like we've got a just clarity around who we are, who we serve, and what sort of visual things that go around that and how those sort of mix together. So it's a process, and we were lucky to have a really great partner to help us along that process. But it was definitely not just like you know uh, uh, overnight, just sort of, hey, this looks nice, and throw that on the website and kind of thing. So that was a big process. But thank you for noticing, and thanks for the awesome question there. Next question. Okay, for oops, uh, paste it here. For a small operation, what are the general costs in a year for a sole proprietor versus a corporation? So, yeah, so I think easy place to start would be sole proprietor. So, with a sole proprietor, you still have to file a personal tax return. That's pretty much all you have to do, but you do have an additional schedule to file. So, it can increase the cost of your personal tax return if you're getting someone to pay for or to do it for you and paying them to do it. If you're doing it yourself, it's just a little more time. I think if you keep your bookkeeping in order, keep all your transactions orderly, you're not going to see a big increase in your costs as a sole proprietor. And you will have to file GST returns, which are really, you can do those yourself as well. We've got a whole lots of articles on our website and that on how to do that. So sole proprietor, not a huge, upgrade in cost from just your regular, the way you would run your personal life. Corporation, on the other hand, there's a lot more that goes into it. And while you could do it all DIY, I think you could, with a lot of research and a lot it would take a lot of time. But most people, let's say 99% of people, pay an accountant to file their corporate tax return each year. They have a lawyer file their annual report or annual return for corporation stuff. And then, whether they are doing bookkeeping or filing, T4s, T5s, you have to get money out of the corporation. So there adds this other layer. I mean, it's a person. You've created, when you create a corporation, you've created a person under the law, and people have sort of administration around them. Costing wise, on the cheap, you probably, spend $2,000 a year just kind of keeping your corporation up and running. That's if you do your own bookkeeping, maybe some of your own filings, but you hire maybe an H&R Block or a Paget Business Services to file your corporate tax return, and if you pay a lawyer to do your corporate return every year on the registry stuff, probably around $2,000. I think our minimum for that is around $3,000 a year, just because we want to be a little more involved than the typical, H&R Block, who would just file a tax return. But those are kind of the major costs associated with it. I think you could, I mean, as much as you want to do, you can DIY it. So bookkeeping, if you want someone to do your bookkeeping for you, that's going to cost more. If you want to file your own GST, that's one thing. But if you want someone to file your GST, that's going to be more. And you could easily spend, even as a small corporation, $10,000 a year on the services around your corporation. But you could do that on your own as well. Um, yeah. So sole proprietor, not much. Corporation, anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000 a year. For a small corporation, you can go. I mean, obviously, go up if you're, have 25 or 30 employees and you're doing a few $1 million a year or something like that. You're going to see costs go up from there. Hopefully, that's helpful. All right. Oh man, these ones. What's your advice on to those getting into the crypto space? Any tips on how that will affect my business's accounting? Yeah, I mean, we get reach outs about, people accepting crypto, investing in crypto, having fully like crypto businesses. I got to say, I am like, as far as like tech savviness, I feel like I'm ahead of the game with accountants. When it comes to crypto, I'm definitely behind the game, because it is quite specialized, and there are firms that really focus on this stuff. But what I will say is, they are currencies, so they're volatile, very volatile currencies. Most crypto. I mean, I know there's stable coins in that, but the ones that people seem to be most interested in at the moment are quite volatile, and it's another currency. So we deal with multi-currency and foreign exchange, and most of the time, I mean, back in the day, we would, have to figure out what foreign exchange currency gains and losses are, and really, create a spreadsheet and make sure that we have that all recorded. And it was never precise because you're doing average rates and things. But recently, or I'd say in the last 10 years, we have uh, software that helps us do that. So with Zero, there's a multi-currency function. It has xe.com, and it will filter in all of your foreign currency transactions in their currency, and then present it in maybe Canadian dollars. So then you'd have gains and losses depending on when the transactions happen. But that all happens in the background. We don't have to manually do that anymore. I'm not aware, although there might be out there. I'm quite sure, at least in its infancy, would be out there, is some third-party software that would do that. I'm not aware of like Zero and QuickBooks being able to handle cryptocurrency ingrained in their system right now. So what would that would leave is it's quite a manual, big process around managing foreign currency or cryptocurrency. But I could be corrected on that. I think there's lots of things coming out about that. It's just like in typical accounting, we're a little bit we lag a little bit behind these things, and that. So that's more operating based. The investment side, I mean, there's a lot of things that go into it. And we're thinking about how you're holding those things, and if you're holding crypto for gains in the future, you're thinking about capital gains tax on that. But if I know now there are cryptos that will pay you kind of a dividend out, and that could be treated as investment income. So within the corporation, you don't really get a lot of help with that. You're going to pay a high tax rate until you send it out personally. And I just did an article on investing within your corporation, which I can touch on a bit later. But the crypto space is definitely evolving. There's no like hard and fast truths about it right now, especially because the products that come along with crypto are changing all the time as well. So a lot more to be determined in that. All right, John's here live, and he has a question. Any special considerations for companies in their first year of operation? Yeah, thanks, John. Yeah, I just did a video on this one, on this question almost exactly. And one of the big things I saw in there when people do reach out, like I get people reaching out, wanting a consultation or something when they're just starting their business, which is fantastic. I love to get people, while they're really keen and starting, and rather than 2-3 years down the road, they're like, hey, I've been running my business for a few years. So good to ask early. But the special considerations are, I still think like as a business owner yourself, your main consideration at the beginning is make sales. Like you need to get revenue in the door. We can figure out the bookkeeping side, but if you do anything from like just an accounting and bookkeeping perspective, keep a separate business bank account, keep a separate credit card. That will keep your data nice and clean for your business, so that we can clean that up later to the bookkeeping, or you can do that and you won't cause yourself a bunch of headaches, and just keep your business and personal completely separate. That's like the biggest consideration, um, from an accounting and tax perspective. But from a business perspective, I think really the sales is the biggest thing. And the reason why is not only just like cash and things that you want, in the door, but you're also getting your product and service into the hands of your customers. And you'll be able to determine from that what they're actually buying from you, and what you thought might be a good idea but just isn't gaining any traction. And you don't really know that until you're sending it out, because if you start creating the perfect website, perfect marketing campaigns, all this stuff for a product or service that nobody wants, you just wasted a lot of time. So I think getting those sales as early as possible is really critical, because you'll learn a ton from that. I hope that answers your question, John. It's a good one. There's lots there, but if there's more technical, just let me know in the comments there. If it's more of any technical specific things that you're thinking about there. All right. PPRAD asks, please explain the tax when you get rental income in the corporation and when you withdraw it as dividend, then tax credit. Yeah. So I think I'm not an investment accountant at all. Like we deal with operating companies for the most part, but rental income, unless you're running an actual like property management company and they say you need like 5 full-time employees and all this stuff, it's going to be treated like investment income inside your corporation. And you pay uh, a higher tax rate within your corp, and they sort of hold that extra tax. So say the tax rate is like 40%, they add another like 6 and a bit% in there, and they hold on to that for you until you decide to dividend it out to yourself personally, and then the corporation gets a dividend tax, or a refundable dividend tax on hand. They keep a balance there, and they will refund that tax to you once you've dividended out and you're paying personal tax on it. And the idea is that what they're trying to do is flush that income out to people personally, rather than accumulating within the corporation. So that's kind of how that mechanism is meant to work. And I might have the rates wrong, so don't quote me on the rates. But that's the general idea around the policy of that kind of tax is like CRA, the government of Canada, does not really want you investing passively inside a corporation. You can do investments personally, and I mean, you still can do it within a corporation. And they just discourage it. They want money to flow to people personally. Use RRSPs, TFSAs. If it's rental income, you're putting that on your personal tax return, and you're paying your personal tax rates. So that's just policy decision. But hopefully that answers your question, P. Prad. That's kind of, I think, like high level how it works. So hopefully that's helpful. Oh, somebody asked if I do GST claims for farms, and no, we farming accountants are specific. There's lots of agriculture type tax credits and things like that. So if you're a farmer and you're looking for an accountant, find one that specifically works with farms. Be super helpful. You get a ton out of that, I'm sure. All right. So next question from, I'm not sure who this is from, but from was, can you pay yourself a salary as a sole proprietor, or do you have to incorporate? And I think it's useful to know what a sole proprietor is, because that may just answer your question. But a sole proprietor is really just you as a person, a legal entity, you running a business. So all the income that's produced there is your income for the year. So you're going to be taxing that at your personal rates, and it's just kind of like T4 income. Um, so I mean, I get the other aspect might be like, hey, I've got the business bank account, and it's generating what it's generating. How do I pay myself out of that? And you can just transfer that money. Like I said, like, you're going to be taxed on that anyways, so you can just transfer that out, and you can pay yourself a salary within that, and even do kind of source deductions and put that in a savings account. If you can do like an online calculator for what you might owe in tax, that's probably like the most salary-ish you're going to get. But you wouldn't hire yourself as an employee and put yourself on payroll as a sole proprietor. I've never seen it done. I guess you could. I don't know if anything would prevent you from doing that. Perhaps. Never seen it done. Um, but you can hire employees with a sole proprietor. And I will say that people often think they need to incorporate just because they're going to have employees. And that's not the case. You can get a RP account and run payroll from a sole proprietor. No issue there, other than maybe some legal considerations. Um, but yeah, but if you're watching or listening and you're kind of sixes and sevens on what I'm talking about here, so you got your sole proprietor as a business structure, which is just you, or a corporation. There is partnerships as well, but I won't get into that. But a corporation being the other side, and within a corporation, like, it is a separate entity itself. And so you need to be like, if you're going to get paid a salary, you need to be an employee of that corporation, even though you're an owner, if you're going to go a salary route. So that's kind of what they're getting at there, is like that sort of structure of being hired as an employee of your own company. And then as the owner of the company, you can get dividends. You can issue dividends to the share classes that you own. And that's another way with a corporation to get money out to yourself personally. So those are kind of the two big options as a corporation, but as sole proprietor, you just kind of boom, get into it. Yeah. Oh yeah. So John, link the previous post. Yeah. So I got a video. Let me pull it up for you here. Probably gonna, yeah. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, how to thrive in your first 6 months of business. That's what I got here. I'll post it here. That is the big thing. And then if you go to Avalon Accounting .ca/resources, you can download our starting your business guide as well. It kind of takes you through all the specific things. Like, pretty much I used to do these calls, like, people would call up and be like, hey, I just started my business. I need to, like, what do I need to do? And so I would ramble through all the things I need to do. And I kept doing it, and I kept doing it and kept doing it. I was like, okay, I should just put this in a guide, because I'm saying the same thing over and over and over again. But hopefully it's nice and clear. I tried to really break it down into all the things you need to do from a sort of compliance and tax perspective for starting your business. But then, like I said, there's some other considerations when you're starting your business that aren't tax and bookkeeping related. And I think some of that tax and bookkeeping related stuff can wait, at least for like 6 months ish. I definitely would still want to register for like GST, like make sure you have an account, operate, get that done, do all of that. But yeah, the nitty gritty, like financial function stuff can wait. We see a need for it. Like if you need invoicing software, like go ahead and use an app for some software. But uh, yeah, I think people get kind of like, I need perfect systems before I get started. Like they're either on that side or they're on the side like I'm gonna forget about this until I absolutely need to, and CRA is calling. So definitely fall in the middle somewhere. Uh, and okay, but how to handle earning mainly USD. Yeah, I haven't created any real content about that specifically, because like I think all you really need to do, like, there's nothing preventing you from invoicing or charging in USD. If you get a software like Zero, that's the one we use. You can add USD as a currency, invoice in that, do your sales in that, have bank accounts in USD. But it's going to convert everything to Canadian dollars when you do your reporting, which is really nice. It does that automatically. So I haven't really created any content about USD specifically. Lots of people do it. I think like there's no, I don't know what I would say about it other than that. So if there's like specific, like, how do you do this particular thing? But for the most part, it's just changing, toggling from Canadian dollars to USD as far as I've seen. Yeah. Great. Let's see here if there's any others. Those are all the questions from Instagram. I can go through kind of the latest thing, which is I've had quite a few people sort of reach out about their employers making them, forcing them to incorporate. So that's been a big thing lately that people are getting hired, and then their employer says, "Well, yes, you're hired, but you need to incorporate your business, and we'll pay you that way. So invoice us." And so I just wrote an article about that, and it's really unfortunate. I don't know where this is coming from. I think maybe some employers are trying to get around labor laws or employment laws, get around paying payroll taxes or something. I don't know, like if it's tested in court. I don't know how they're getting away with it, but it seems to be a thing, and especially in like software engineering, and so you just kind of do need to create that corporation, unless you want to take it to court, um, and need to follow the steps. So check out that article, which I just posted to our website on it. I will post it here again for the chat after. You can see it. Yeah, so it's my employer says I need to incorporate. What should I do? So I'll link that there. All right. Laura has a question. What accounting issues should you keep in mind when you're thinking about inventory management? Okay, right. So having lots versus little remaining at your fiscal year end. You know, there's I don't think there's if you're incorporated, you kind of have to go through your normal processes around this, like um, doing an inventory count, finding what your actual inventory amounts are is valuable, not just for your business, but like how you compare year over year and how you're performing. I think people get stuck on the tax stuff a lot. Like I think like it's like, oh, is it better for me to buy equipment near the end of the year and I've got this cash sitting here and I don't want to be taxed on it and this stuff. And I get where business owners are coming from. Like they don't want to pay more tax than they need to. But the system kind of works. Like you have to kind of trust the system itself works, and it's supposed to be reflective of how you perform. So if you perform well, you pay tax on your income, and that's just how it is. Like, so when it comes to like things like inventory, I wouldn't mess around with your inventory too much. Like, you kind of want to go through your process, count your inventory, see what you have at the end of the year, value that. Expensive, if some of it needs to be written off, write it off. Like if you can't sell it or it's down, you're going to have to discount it to below what you paid it for. you can mark that down and call that a cost of sale or a write down expense or something like that. So just, count your inventory and be really, really cognizant of it. But as far as like having lots or little, I think it's more of a business thing than a tax thing. You definitely want to keep your inventory. I mean, ideally, you would get your inventory and sell it like at the same time, because that ties up less of your cash flow. The more inventory you purchase, the more you're holding. All of that inventory, it's like what the minimalists say around the house. It's like, look at all your stuff that used to be cash. And it's true. And in inventory, it's true. It's all that inventory used to be cash, and is yet to be cash in the future. So it's tying up your cash flow. So keeping inventory levels as low as possible without, having an empty store. Of course, like you need inventory to run your business, but the closer you can, or the faster you can get to turning that inventory over and over and over again, the better off your business is going to be. Having said that, I mean, you have to do a bit of analysis on like volume purchasing. I know we have a few clients that have that, where, it's like, well, I need to buy all this stuff, because if I do, I get this massive discount on it. But you do have to take into account, like, do you need to lend? You need to borrow money in order to get that discount, and does it actually, does the discount work out after paying interest on that loan and things? So some analysis to be done there. Um, yeah, so it's, just something to keep in mind with your inventory. Hopefully that answers your question, Laura. If not, just post it again, because I'm happy to answer. John, awesome. I'm just past the 1 year mark and need to prepare for filing. I've been using Wave, so hopefully that will work. Yeah, Wave. Oh, Wave is a challenging one, and I had such high hopes for it, and we continue to always have high hopes for it because it's pretty. It's beautiful software. But as far as its usefulness, it's 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 lacking. I mean, the reporting that we can do, how we reconcile accounts, that's stuff that we want it to do as accountants, never seems to work out. And I get I've been super frustrated with it. I even went through a period where I was like, I'm gonna run Avalon's books like on Zero, which was our normal software, and I'm going to run it on Wave just to see how it goes. And I honestly, I couldn't get through a month with it. It was like I couldn't reconcile accounts. I didn't know where things were flowing. It was really hard to understand how it was coming together. Now, that, mind you, that was a few years ago, so I haven't gone and done that experiment again. But once bitten, twice shy, I guess um, that that these sort of free systems, or the freemium model type of thing, can bite you over time. And yeah, the multi-currency stuff too, like QuickBooks, Zero, the ones you pay for, I think they just handle that stuff better. They have like development teams that do that, and they're not so crunched. So I'm sorry, John. I wish I knew more about Wave to tell you, oh, it's fine, just do this. But multi-currency is a is a feature on some of the paid ones that is worth its weight in gold for me. And I know our whole team, uh, uh, watches that really closely. So yeah, good luck with that. Sorry, John. Cool. And another article that I just put out was, should I invest in my corporation? We do get this question quite a bit. And P. Pratt had the question on, rental income, but investments are a similar sort of thing where, you can invest within your corporation. We have, you can have holdcos, you can invest in the Opco. There's lots of other, considerations to investing within your corporation. But again, know that the CRA, or Revenue Canada, or uh, Government of Canada, is really adamant that they don't want passive investments within corporations. They really feel like corporations are for active business income, and that's why we get small business deductions and things by being small businesses. Is they want you to hold on to more of your money within the corporation and reinvest it back in your business, so you grow the economy, hire more people, buy more equipment. Like if they're going to give you a low tax rate, they want something else out of it. And that something else is economic development. So just understand that that's the policy behind taxation in Canada. And when you start to operate outside of that policy basis, is where you can kind of get punished. So, one of those examples is investing passively inside your corporation. You have excess cash, and you want to, put that into some other stocks or bonds or crypto or anything. Government doesn't really like that. They want to discourage that. So what happens is that you don't get that small business deduction for the active business income on, any, dividends or interest you earn within the corporation. It's taxed at a higher rate. And what they're trying to do is force that money back into your personal. And while you hang on to more of your capital than you would if you just pay that straight out as dividends, you will pay more on the tax that investment produces. So there is a plus side, which is you have more capital to invest, which is a great thing. But you also have the issue where the investment income is going to be taxed at a higher rate. So one way around this, that's easy and super cheap to do, is to pay yourself a salary and then use RSP contribution room. You'll maintain the capital at 100%, and you will pay no tax on the investment income until you start pulling that money out in retirement or in a gap year or something like that. So that's just one like consideration for tax planning. Mind you, RSP room can get used up pretty quickly, especially if your business is doing well. So that can limit that sort of tax planning opportunity. But then you've got TFSAs. I mean, yes, you're working with less capital, but the interest and earnings from the investments are tax free, which is kind of nice. Again, limitations on that. We've only got a certain amount in TFSA that we can use, so that the next vehicle would be within your corporation. They've like in recent years, they have limited even further, so you can only produce about 50,000 in passive investment income within the corporation before you start whittling away at your small business deduction. And that's a real issue because you'll start paying a higher corporate rate even on your active income. So they're really pushing people to pay it out personally. Just if you're going to invest, you invest personally, and not keep that within the corporation. So and again, there's business considerations here too. So if you have excess cash, but you need that because you might be hiring in the future, by all means, invest that money within the corporation. Don't pay it out to yourself personally and then have to transfer it back. Keep it within the corporation. Put it in some safe investments. Yes, you will be taxed on the any interest income that you have, but not such a bad thing because you have this cash sort of backup to your uh, for your business, so that if you're going to go on a hiring spree for summer of next year when things are really busy, you've got the cash to kind of do that without going through dividends or salary to yourself. Cool. So that check out that article, and I do have the video will be going up on that hopefully tomorrow. I think it's uploading right now. So I'll post that on investing within your corporation and the considerations there. Um, Great. So, Light 002 asks, what's the difference between investing directly within the Opco versus a Holdco? Actually, Opco and Holdco are just terms that we use. Holdcos are meant to be sort of for your passive investments or for things like holding shares of your corporation. They're kind of encapsulating assets, versus Opco, which is the active business that you're doing. So if you're selling services or selling products, they would be in the Opco. There's no real like legal difference between those two things, and you don't really designate them as holdcos or opcos with CRA or anything. It's just something we kind of use as a framework to understand how the different corporations interact together and what their purpose is. But there's no difference in their taxation. They're just treated exactly the same. So I know there, I now I almost hesitate saying that because we do differentiate them so much in our heads, and I'm kind of like, is that fully right? But there is no like designation that we do. It's just what's the holding of all those assets and what's the operating of the business. They separate, and not everyone does that. I don't want anybody watching this to get the idea that you need an opco and a holdco and this structure is like written in stone or anything. Most businesses, like I'd say 90% of our clients, don't have a holdco. They have just an opco and they keep their assets in there, and your shares are held individually. uh, when you start adding corporate layering, the corporate structure of Holdco and that, it's got to be for specific purposes, and it's got to make sense administratively because you will pay, you pay more to keep a Holdco, and there's more filings to do and more complications. So something to consider there when you're considering having a Holdco. Awesome. Yeah, so those are the two main things. Those are the two latest articles and things. I know John had some questions about starting his business. And please, I've posted it there to check that out. And under resources, you can see the starting your business guide. That's always a perennial favorite, and try to make that one really available and useful to people. So that one's all good. That was pretty much everything I wanted to cover today in the live. I can hang on for a little bit longer, see if there's any other questions, any other people popping on. Um, Happy to help there. I did post on Instagram just recently, and so I'll just double check if there's any more that have come through. Let's see here. Awesome. Yeah, that's all the questions I've had there. I'll do these once a month-ish. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to the channel to see when those will be. I also have a community up and running for small business owners, and it's on Circle. Circle is this really cool. We'll post it here. Um, but really loving Circle, which is a community piece of software, and I've got some free areas of that community. The main part of the community is paid, or you need to be a client to be in there. And then there's a free resources, and I'll run some free events and post them there as well. So if you join up, you'll get notified for that. We also, what else are we doing these days? Yeah, more lives coming. The community is sort of new, so I'm trying to get that one off the ground. And the new website resources and everything should be a lot more clear. We've got some new like rebranded guides and things, which I hope are helpful for everybody. Try to put out a ton of free stuff and try to make it useful. Like it's not free and a big sales pitch. So please go check out the resources section. We've got our $1 million service-based company, what your income statement should look like if you're going to be super profitable. So it gives like budgets and benchmarks for that. That's a super useful download. Use it for myself, for our business. And then we've got the financial foundation. So I did a talk with Futurepreneur yesterday about cash flow management, and that was taken straight from the Financial Foundations guide. And that's just all the kind of learnings I've been doing as a business owner, all the things that in the financial part of the business that I thought business owners should know without it being super dense or anything, just like, cash flow management, what is income statement, balance sheet, how to read those, how to make a valuable business. So what are buyers looking for in a business, and how do you actually make the business work for you rather than killing yourself over it. So that's all included in that financial foundations guide. And then also sort of pet project of mine was the productivity guide, and that was a big one for me because uh, starting your business, like, you're pulled in so many directions. And I did a lot of reading on productivity, almost guilty of being productive about being productive sometimes. But it kind of boiled that all my learnings over the years in productivity down into that. And it's not about being perfect or having this Tim Ferriss style version of, optimizing everything. More like real life productivity, how it actually works in the real world. And yeah, really enjoyed writing that, and hopefully people find that useful. If you kind of have the same uh, sense of what productivity is as me, you might get something out of that. Great. We got another question from John here. Thanks, John. What would you like to see? What would you like to see new clients have ready and send in to get their taxes filed? Yeah, actually, I again have an article on this, John. Thanks. I'd see if I can find it for you here. Uh, what did we call it? Tax checklist, maybe. Yeah, year-end accounting checklist. Here you go, John. I feel like we're going to run out of ideas here soon, but we have written quite a few of these articles. So, yeah, I mean, the bookkeeping things reconciled. Bookkeeping, I mean, it sounds like, an easy thing. Sometimes it's just a lot of organization, just making sure the files are all organized properly. Bank banks are all reconciled, and that all kind of matches. That's super helpful. uh, and then we kind of come in and do our work. So um, the more organized that is, the better off everyone is, the less headaches, and the more time we can spend with you, kind of understanding your business rather than, cleaning up bookkeeping and data. So yeah, yeah, good point there, John. You keeping things really clean is great, helpful for us, and you make us happy, and you'll get better service too. Awesome. All right, so that's it for me. Hopefully, this has been helpful. I'll post this recording soon, and I'll cut out all my ums and ahs and pauses. But thank you so much for joining today. Happy if I can help, and always here for questions. Reach out on the website. Message us on Instagram. Follow us here. I do monitor the comments section personally in our YouTube channel, and I respond to all good questions. I don't know. I get some pretty funky ones sometimes. I have to ignore, but for the most part, if it's a honest question about something going on um, in your business, I'm happy to help and answer that. YouTube's a big space though, so I get some interesting people. But really appreciate watching and supporting the channel, and we'll keep trying to put out good stuff for you. And let us know if you ever have an idea for a video. We got more coming, and I'm trying to get faster and better at it. That's my goal over the next few months here, is to just get better at doing these videos. I do enjoy it, so it is a good time. Anyways, I'll sign off for now. Thanks so much for watching, and again, supporting the channel. Subscribe if you haven't already. Smash that like button. Hey, cheers.